Hey, thanks for joining Sales with Suli, a mom of three who spent the last 12 summers knocking doors. Welcome to my podcast where I talk about all things women, the ups and downs of my journey, and what it takes to find success on and off the doors. Enjoy this episode. Hey, welcome back, friends. Thanks for tuning in this week. I'm super stoked to actually have someone that I had met, well, not in real life, like a year ago, but coached a year ago, and finally meeting in person. And she is definitely a lot taller than I thought. But I definitely just feel like I'm just a lot shorter than most people, which is why I have a red personality. But anyways, I'm excited to have Amanda on our show today. She was a team leader for Active Pest Control this last summer. And I'm just kind of like stoked to just be able to like hear some of your experiences that you had. Was this your first year running a team?
Yeah, so it was my second year selling, but first year as a team leader.
Okay. So give us a little background about you, like how we can find you, and how you got into sales and all that good stuff.
Yeah, so my brother was actually the one that kind of recruited me into selling initially. And we were going to go sell with a different company. Long story short, ended up with Active. And with my best friend instead of my brother, this whole kind of thing. But yeah, and I kind of went out, and it was a little bit unique my first summer. Kind of worked part-time for Active for like the first 6 weeks that I sold.
Oh, yeah, because you were going to school.
Yeah, and I was going to go, I was studying for the MCAT because my plan was to go to medical school. Yeah, and then like 6 weeks into the summer, I was like, I want to see what happens if I like go all in and actually just like sell the whole schedule. And ended up selling enough to be able to be a team leader, which was awesome.
And this was like after you had already just been going to like school part-time. And then so in how much time in that time frame where you're like, I'm just going to go full force and just do it? Like how much time was that? Like, so because you were going to school part-time like a little bit during the summer. Yeah. And then like at what point and how many days left were you like, let me just do the full schedule?
So like 6 weeks in to selling, I had about a 10-week summer. And so 6 weeks in, I was like, okay, I'm going to see what happens if I just go all in. So like the last month, I just like hit it hard.
Holy cow, Amanda. Yeah. And then how many did you end up with only like really working like for 5 weeks?
So I did 179 or 180 my first year.
Holy cow.
So it was a good start. And, I was excited about it. And so I remember what happened is I actually went to Spencer, who was kind of the team leader there. And I was like, so what do I have to do to have my own team next year? And so he set a goal for me and I said, bet. And so I went and hit that.
So, you're like, I'm definitely, and this is why I love women so much. You literally give them a path, tell them exactly how to get there, and we are going to slay it. Like, we're going to do it. Like, the way that you are in school, I feel like is exactly the way that you were, like, indoors. Like, you ate it up. Like, you lived it. You breathed it. It was just, that's why it was just, like, so fun chit-chatting with you, like, so often. But what were some of the hard things for you while going to school and hey, I've only got 4 weeks left. I need to like step up my game. Like what were some things that were going through your mind? Like what were they, what were you struggling with?
Yeah, I think, well, I don't know. Selling in general for me was something that gave me a bunch of anxiety before I decided to do it. I was actually super terrified of the idea of doing summer sales. And that's the reason I decided to do it. Because I was like, I'm not going to let fear dictate how I live. So that's why I just did it anyway. But I think I was really nervous jumping into selling full days because I was like, man, maybe I don't know if I'm going to be able to handle like this much rejection in a day or like the schedule like this in a whole day. And I was a little bit worried about putting school aside, you know, like MCAT prep aside.
Yeah, that's like a big deal.
Yeah, because I was still sold on going to medical school, and then...
Are you still sold now?
Okay. No.
But you passed MCAT.
Well, I didn't even take it.
She's like, bye. Got it.
Yeah. So I think I was just like nervous about whether or not I could handle the experience, but it was awesome. I loved it.
Okay. No, like just hearing some of your experiences, just how you were in school. And I think I totally spaced that in 4 weeks. So how many accounts did you do in 4 weeks?
Shoot. So the last 4 weeks that I sold, it was something like 85 ish. I don't know.
Okay. So this year, I know that your guys' company, you guys solely focused on revenue. Like, what was the biggest like shift? So first year rookie, you only did obviously like 4 weeks, and then you run a team, you're an experienced rep, but on top of that, you basically like jumped your contract value like way up. Like, what was the difference, and like what'd you do?
Yeah, so it was actually a huge adjustment because I was really used to in Tucson, that's where I sold the first summer, like basically all of my aces were just price drops, and it was just like undercutting everybody just to be able to like get the sale. So I think in order to have a really like a much higher contract value, and actually it took me until like July to actually start pitching high. So my contract value was pretty low for the first half of the summer, and then I really jumped it up in the last half of the summer. So it ended up being 720 overall. But if I had actually like committed to it in the beginning, probably would have been above 8. Yeah.
So like what were some of the lines, or what were some things that you were saying that you weren't doing before to basically build that, get the contract value up?
Totally. Well, one is pitch really high. Like I would start at like, when I was doing really well with contract values, like at least 139, 149, 159 across the board. Like from initials to
share your
service.
pitch. So you're just like...
Yeah, so when I get to pricing, like straight up would be like, now normally for a service like mine, like we're talking $399 to get started. And then I roll back through here, it's just $159 bi-monthly.
But it's obviously having the confidence and everything with that, like coming from selling like such like lower contracts. Like
well, Aptiv changed their service completely. Where like we do everything now. So I was like, there's not a service out here that's going to be better than mine. So I'm not even worried about it. You should pay me more because I do more.
Yes. Like we truly do get what we pay for. And if we aren't bought in to our companies, if we aren't bought into our products, like how are you going to be bought into your pitch, and how are you going to be bought into like being out there on the doors?
Totally.
So with your first year, like running a team, like what were some things that you were doing with your reps to be able to get them bought in to something that they know nothing about?
Yeah, that's a great question. So one thing is in the morning, we'd always have an opportunity for them to come in and work with us one-on-one, like the team leaders. So me and Zach and Seth were kind of the 3.
Nice.
And so, always opportunities. I think just trying to keep things exciting and fresh in morning meetings, and having kind of incentives throughout the team and kind of competing with each other. We'd have throwdowns, and it would be really fun. But I think it's just having them consistently revisit their why as well. For why they were out there. Because, I mean, everybody gets hyped about selling for a different reason.
Yeah.
If I am trying to make my reason your reason, it's just not going to work.
It isn't. And at the end of the day, sometimes money just is not going to be an immediate motivator. And so it's like, if your why isn't big enough, like your consistency and everything else is just going to, it's just going to leave. It's going to be gone when you're having a rough day.
100% true.
So, okay, first year, woman in pest, like running a team, like tell me what your processes was for like recruiting. Like how did you get like some of these reps? Like how did that take over some of the things that you were doing during the summer as far as like, your personal growth, and then like your numbers too? Like how did it affect you?
Yeah. So as far as recruiting goes, it was my senior year of college, and there was a lot going on. So I just recruited my friends. So I just brought out people that like my friends and my family. And a lot of my recruits kind of recruited themselves, actually, because I just talked about it so much. Yeah. And they were really close to me, and we just had really good relationships. And they're like, okay, like I want to give this a try. So I ended up bringing a lot of them out with me that way. And then
I think that's like a big deal. Like when you're in an environment and you're in a space that you love, like you truly love the people that you work with, you're going to naturally talk about your company.
Yes.
So it's going to just organically happen. So I love that happened for you in that case.
Yeah. Like one of my recruits, she was actually my second best rookie. She, 2 days before the summer, I actually live with her out here now. Her name's Tess. I love Tess.
Hey, Tess.
Yeah. Tess, I'm shouting you out here. We talked like 2 days before the summer started, and she abandoned her whole summer plan and came out because she just heard us talk about it so much and felt like it was such an awesome opportunity.
And it was just 2 days before it happened.
Yeah, and homegirl killed it, considering literally we trained her like OJT, like out there. It was crazy. So it was just like, I don't know, that was kind of the recruiting process. But throughout the summer, having a team full of my friends was interesting because you have that relationship of being their friends and like their team leader. So for me, I found myself like spending a lot of time like with everybody and like with their like emotions and with everything they were going through.
Yeah.
Which I think was really neat, but also something in the future I'll probably mitigate a little more for myself.
Yes, I realize as a leader, like we have to definitely do a better job at setting like healthy boundaries, but also like making sure that they know that we're there for them too. Like it really does get blurred when you have friends who are also reps. Like it can be super draining. But so how are some of the ways that you were able to like overcome that and be able to like navigate the emotions on top of yours? Because I know that there was like a ton of times that you were struggling and different things that you were going through. Like how'd you deal with that?
I think it's who you surround yourself with. So like the leadership that I work with, I love, you know, and I got to lead a team with my best friend, which was really helpful. So that's a really good person to bounce things off of. And then in my region, I have Spencer and Travis, who you know.
Yeah. Who are just shout out to the men out there who are continually like building up the women in their space.
And that's one thing I can say about my region and where I am at Aptive that I love is they have so much respect for like women in their capacity.
I love it.
Yeah. So like, and it's cool because they understand that like my interactions with them are going to be different than how they interact with the male team leads.
Yeah.
And so it's been cool to like develop that relationship and be able to rely on them still like for help and guidance and feel supported by them. So that's been awesome.
And then, so with that like being said, like how do you feel that you were that way for like your team on the hard day? So how many reps did you have on your team? How many were girls? How'd they do? And how'd your leaders help them find success?
So I started the summer with 9.
Okay.
And then we had a really unique summer where we didn't.
She says unique.
We didn't have housing for like the first 6 weeks. And so we were moving between extended stays. And so to give you context too, so I graduated from college on Saturday. I packed up my house on Sunday. I drove Sunday night, moved into a hotel, and we started leading that team on Monday.
Oh, my
And so it was like a whirlwind to get started. So it was a little bit chaotic. So I ended up finishing the summer with 3, right? So it was a little bit of a rougher summer.
How many times did you guys have to move like during that time frame?
Oh my gosh,
stuff?
I can't even remember. Like at least 4 or 5, like in that time, different
This sounds
extended
like my
stays.
summer.
Yeah, I looked homeless. Like I was driving my car around and it was full of all of my stuff. And I was sitting there and I'm like, one of these people, they're going to be like, what is wrong with this girl? Is she homeless? Like, does she sleep in her car? Oh my gosh, because it looked like it. But yeah, so of my ones that finished the summer, it was 2 girls and 1 guy.
Of course, the girls.
I know.
They're just going to keep their commitments.
Seriously, yeah. And my number 1 rookie, her name was Anna. She did $120K in revenue in 10 weeks.
Okay, Anna, in 10 weeks.
Yeah.
This is what I love to like preface when I'm like posting numbers and stats. It's just like the number of like weeks or actual like knocking days or whatever, because it just makes like a big difference. So to hear that she did that amount in 10 weeks, and this was her first year.
Oh, yeah.
Was she one of those reps that was just like always up early, like coming in training? Did she work more hours? Like what did she do to separate herself from like the rest of the team?
Yeah, so she signed really early. She signed in October the year before, and she just trained consistently the whole year. Like, and it's super reliable, always there for our meetings, always prepared. And then when we got out in the summer, like, holy smokes, this girl like would knock through lunch. She definitely knocked way more hours than a lot of other people. And she was always up, and when she had questions, she'd come and ask for help. But she was creative. Like what I loved about her is like when I would hear her pitch, I'm like, you are creative. You've learned. Like you've been dynamic with people on the doors.
Yes, you've made it relate to you. And
Yes.
It's not like just a robot. Like that's one thing that I recognize in some of the industries. Like we give a pitch to people and it's just like, or we give you guys a script and then you guys like learn it. We sound and we feel like robots. Mm-hmm. And it's when you're doing things like your rep who is super dynamic or creative, you start to see the sales come.
Oh, yeah. And she started killing it. Absolutely killing it.
That's awesome. And so as a leader, I know a lot of times, like when we're posting stats and when we're putting numbers out there, like we kind of like focus a lot on like the positive things because we, I don't know, people just seem to just want to talk a lot about like the positive things that happen. But I definitely want to make sure that we are sharing like some of like our lows. And so for you as like a first time female rep, I kind of want to know like what were some of the mistakes that if you could do over, you would fix them? Like what were some things that you felt like, hey, looking back as a leader, I could have been more what? Like what are, in a nutshell, the mistakes and examples and things that you've done this last year that you're like, this upcoming year, I plan to change it this way?
Oh yeah, I've got a long list of those. So number one is I would have way more fun with my reps.
Yeah.
I got like so intense that it was like on Saturdays, like we didn't even do fun things all the time because I like wasn't there to plan them because I was knocking. Like, you know, and it's like
wanted to work all the time.
Holy smokes. Yeah. I got like super intense about things. And so it's like realizing like, yes, this is our job. This is our livelihood. There's so much to learn, but like, take it easy, like chill. Or is that
you
like,
and I relate so much? Yes. Like, and what are, as I'm like jumping in, this is why I try not to even like chat or even like look at the questions because I'm like, I want to just talk the whole time. Okay. So to fix that next summer, you're going to have more fun. You're going to make sure that activities are planned. You're going to make sure that all these like little things that are going to be happening in order for your team to have fun.
Yeah, 100%.
One thing that I would suggest for some of you women out there who are kind of like similar to Amanda and I, more so me, is just like, yes, when I'm in work, it's just like work mode and I'm not like the normal Suli that I am like outside of work. The cool thing is like having like mentors or leaders in the team who have the strengths that you don't have. So delegating and actually saying, hey, Alyssa, like you're going to be in charge for the next 3 weeks of the activities, making sure that it's all planned and doing all those things. I know that's definitely what helped my team to have so much more fun this summer was that it wasn't me planning them, but my team had a ton of fun because I delegated someone to ensure that that was going to happen while I was doing some of the things that I wanted to get done. But what are some other things that you felt like you wanted to do better in?
Well, to speak to that, I definitely will be doing that. I'll be finding somebody who likes to do that kind of
thing. And you're going to be like, hey, like you're going to get this at the end of the month for making sure that
we have fun.
That we have fun.
I think another thing along with fun is I realized like a lot of being able to lead well is being in a good space to yourself. Yeah. And for me, I had a huge dip in August, which I know is like pretty typical.
What do you mean by dip?
Like in production and headspace and everything, especially once my team went home and it was just me. Yeah. Like I did something like, I don't know, it was like 80K of rev in July and then like 35 in August.
Wow.
Yeah. And it was rough. And I realized the reason that happened is I had like a 30 week at the end of July. And I remember thinking, I like got in my own head of like, oh, I'm actually not that good at this. Like these people are just like, it's not me. Like they're not actually, I don't actually have a skill set. And I like bottomed myself out to the point that I like didn't believe I had a skill set anymore. And
in August.
It was just nuts, right? Which is like the month you should be killing it. Yeah. And it took me to like the last week to have a day where I like crushed it again and was like, okay,
I got this.
There we go. But like, it's just,
how did you get out though?
Yeah. So a lot of conversations with a lot of my leadership, like my friends and my leadership, just lots of like working through what was going on in my headspace. And I realized like comparison is just like awful.
It's the devil in this space.
It is,
like the literal devil.
100%.
It's why I hate stats.
Yes. Yeah. And I realized like I just had gotten into this like awful headspace. And so I think for me, and how this relates to your question about leadership, is just like making sure that I'm doing the things that make me enjoy my job because it just makes me so much of a better leader. And I know my personality on the doors is like, I'm not actually a red personality. Like that's like not really my thing. I'm like super happy-go-lucky, have fun, make people laugh, like bring up their energy to match mine. Yeah. And so I've realized if I'm not in a space with that kind of energy, then I can't sell that way. And that's how I sell. So, and like, that's how I lead as well.
So you want to make sure that you're going to be a lot more mindful.
Yeah, like mindful of that space. Yeah, because I think if I can keep my headspace, just my head screwed on straight, you know, like I'm going to be able to be much more effective at helping my people do the same. But I'm so grateful for the experience this year. Yeah, because it definitely made me undershoot my revenue goal by like not doing well in August. But I feel like I learned just so much that I'm going to be able to carry into next year.
I love hearing that like August was like one of your worst months, but the simple fact that you ended with how much in revenue?
It was like 203.
203 in revenue. Like you still came back and like that's the point. Like how many of us like we're gonna dip like you said in August and literally mentally physically dip, like gone with the summer. But you and your mindset, it was just like, no, I'm going to be here postseason. I'm going to make up. I'm going to do everything that I need to be able to hit this goal. And this is why I absolutely just love women in this space, but it's like what you said, if we aren't having the energy, if we aren't in the space to be able to uplift our own selves and to be able to bring that space as like a rep or especially as a leader, it's just going to be portrayed on, it's just going to spill over to the rest of our reps. Like they're not going to have fun. Like they're going to feel tense. Like they're going to feel like stressed and all these different things that I know that I've recognized this summer as I was like leading to, that sometimes us as women that we can just be so like, hey, we've got to do like everything perfect that we forget a lot of the little things.
Yep.
And so I thanks Amanda for even just being willing to like share with us like some of the things that you knew that you had to overcome this last summer. But what I'm hearing from you is that you're super stoked for this next summer. What are some of your goals that you have between now and next summer for your team? Like how many do you want to do? Like what's your financial goal? Like why door to door? Like why do you want to continue getting doors slammed in your face, run a team? Why do you want to babysit? Why do you want to like why do you want to make a name for yourself? Why do you want to do all these things in door to door?
Okay, I love that question. Yeah. Especially because my path was like medical school and all these things. Okay, I love this industry because I love the challenge. It is just like I have not found something yet that pushes me to my limits in like every aspect of my life the way that this job does. And until it stops doing that, like I'm sold on being here because I love the growth. I live for it. I've felt such a change in my life since I've started doing this job. And my why for doing this is to bring out other people so that they can experience that. Because I've realized, like, I wasn't confident. I didn't have direction. I'd had success in a lot of ways in my life, but I wasn't, like, excited about it, you know? Yeah. And so coming in here, it feels like a fight, and I freaking love it. So, I love it. Like, yeah. As far as, like, size of team goes, I'm still kind of, like, thinking exactly, like, what I'm going for there. Yeah. But I do want to produce 3 to 5 leaders. Like, that's my goal, you know? Let's go. And, like, people that are going to come back and are going to see the value in this experience so that they can bring others along. Yeah. And, like, financially, yeah, there's a lot to be made here. Yeah. I would like to triple my income from this year.
Let's go. I'm going to keep up with you on that. Yeah, we'll check back in. Heck but, yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's the mindset that I feel like we need more of, like, here in the space. And I feel like it's taken me a lot of years to want to truly say that, like, I am passionate about door to door and that there is enough space at the top for all 6 billion women on this planet to be able to get there. There's no need for comparison. There is no need for cattiness. There's no need for gossip. But if we truly have that, exactly what you just said about being able to bring others to have that same success, like, things are going to fall in place if we're doing it intentionally.
Heck
and and I love it. So for those of you women out there who are wanting to lead teams, those of you women who are probably still dealing with like postseason and you're like, oh my gosh, like I'm just having like a crappy time, like know that there's time. Know that you can get up if you need to. If you want to run a team, know that there's possibilities to be able to do it. But it's being able to recognize some of our weaknesses and building on our strengths. But Amanda, share where people can reach you on Instagram if they want to send you their pest control pitch or if they want to like go over some things with you on just like your high contracts and things like that.
Heck yeah. So my Instagram is at AJWood334. Definitely hit me up. I love that. And yeah, reach out. I would love to give like feedback. I'm totally open to all that or any questions or anything. And I love to learn from everybody else too. So
thanks, Amanda. Yeah. And some last tips that you'd want to leave for like an experienced rep. So I know a lot of us are like rookies, but I feel like a lot of us women like keep coming back. What would be some advice that you'd want to leave with women who are looking to lead a team?
Yeah. I think number one, have a clear vision of what you're trying to design. You know, if you have a vision for what you're trying to achieve for yourself and for others, the mechanism is going to work itself out, but you're going to figure out how to get there. Just know where you're going and then start going in that direction. And when it comes down to it, if you're an experienced rep, you know, like trust your skill set, like trust that you know what you're doing. I mean, we all can sharpen the saw and get better, but work on your mindset. Take time to actually figure out what works for you to like solidify your headspace and your confidence.
Yeah. I am a big believer on mind space, mental health, and just basically like taking. I feel like us as women, we truly need to take the time to nurture that, like off the doors. It's only going to help us to be better creators and better leaders on the doors. So thanks for sharing your story with us this week, Amanda. And those of you friends, I'll see you on the next one. Thanks for taking the time to tune in. If I've added any kind of value to your thoughts on knocking doors, please share this podcast with another female rep. Until next time, know that you are capable, you are valued, and most importantly, you are enough.